So this is the picture they told us we would never see. For years, Donald Trump has been like one of those non-stick pans you buy at 2 in the morning because a guy in a polo shirt swears eggs will slide right off. Impeachments slid off. Indictments somehow made him more popular. Civil judgments delayed, appealed, bonded, kicked down the road like a beer can in a parking lot. Consequences were always for other people. Other people lost their houses. Other people got foreclosed on. Other people dealt with the sheriff at the door. Not Donald Trump, until now. Because this morning, reality finally did the thing it's been threatening to do for a decade. It showed up with paperwork. Breaking news out of New York City has turned Trump's favorite fantasy, that he's untouchable, into a stress test he is absolutely failing. A New York State Supreme Court judge has ordered the immediate execution of judgment against the Trump Organization. And immediate is doing a lot of work here. This isn't a warning shot. This isn't a deadline circled on a calendar. This is a seizure order, as in someone is literally preparing to knock on the door and start counting chairs, and not just any doors. We're talking about 40 Wall Street, Trump Tower commercial spaces, possibly even the Jet, the buildings with his name in letters so big you can see them from space, the stuff he points to when he says, "Look how successful I am," right before declaring bankruptcy for the 6th time. This is historic. For the first time in American history, a sitting president is facing the active liquidation of his private business empire by a state government that absolutely hates his guts. This is capitalism, the Constitution, and karma all trying to go through the same revolving door at once. And why now? Why does this happen while he's sitting in the Oval Office, watching Fox News, yelling at interns, and eating something beige? Because the financial world just coughed, and Trump caught pneumonia. Remember that massive civil fraud judgment from New York? The $464 million one. The one brought by Letitia James that Trump swore was a witch hunt, a hoax, a scam, and probably also Hillary Clinton somehow. Trump appealed it, and to stop New York from immediately seizing his stuff while the appeal dragged on, he had to post a bond. Basically, someone had to say, "Don't worry, if he loses, we'll pay." A very questionable company stepped in and vouched for him. And for a while, it worked. That bond was the dam holding back the flood. Trump strutted around like nothing could touch him. But then the global financial system did what it does best. It panicked. The Japanese bond market crashed. The yen carry trade unwound. Trillions of dollars in liquidity evaporated like free drinks at a Trump fundraiser. And it turns out the reinsurance consortium backing Trump's appeal bond was heavily exposed to Japanese commercial debt. When Tokyo sneezed, Trump's bond insurer caught the flu and collapsed face first into a briefcase. Late Friday night, they told the New York court they couldn't secure the bond anymore. Translation: we're out. Good luck with that guy. Normally, a defendant might get some grace period, 30 days. Time to scramble, time to call friends, time to sell a painting or two. But this is New York. This is Letitia James. And this is a judge who has clearly run out of patience and maybe also popcorn. The court looked at Trump's situation and said, if you're really a billionaire, write the check. If you can't write the check, we're not waiting around while the market melts. We're taking the assets now. And just like that, the stay was lifted. The shield was down. Donald Trump got the financial equivalent of a margin call on his entire life, and he couldn't meet it. Now let's talk about what happens next, because this is where it stops being abstract and starts being very, very real. Letitia James doesn't want the golf courses. Nobody wants the golf courses. They lose money, they're hard to sell, and they come with more legal baggage than a Spirit Airlines flight. What she wants is cash flow. She wants the trophy assets, the ones that make money, the ones that hurt. First on the list, 40 Wall Street. This is the crown jewel. The building Trump loves to brag about when he wants to remind New Yorkers that he's a real mogul. But here's the fun part. Trump doesn't actually own the land. He owns the ground lease. And ground leases are like Jenga towers made of legal paperwork. If you default on a judgment, that lease can be sold or voided. Losing 40 Wall Street doesn't just hurt financially, it hurts emotionally. It hits the brand, it hits the identity. It's like taking Batman's Batmobile and replacing it with a city bike. Next up, Trump Tower commercial and retail spaces. Not the penthouse yet. Not the gold-plated throne room, the lower floors, the stores, the atrium, the offices. A judge can appoint a receiver, and this is where it gets delicious. A receiver is a court-appointed CEO. They walk in and say, "Hi, I'm in charge now." They collect the rent. They fire management. They redirect every single dollar straight to the state of New York. Imagine a bureaucrat appointed by a Democrat attorney general marching into Trump Tower and telling the Trump Organization, "Hand over the keys." Trump would still technically own it on paper, but he would lose control. He would lose the cash flow. He would become a tenant in his own building. It's like owning a car, but Ubering in it. Then there's Seven Springs, the Westchester property that was at the heart of the fraud case. Inflated valuations, paper billionaires. This one is easy. It's not his home. It's clean. It's low-hanging fruit. And then there's the nuclear option. The bank accounts. The sheriff can send a levy to every bank in New York. J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo. Anyone holding money for an entity with the words Trump Organization in it freezes the account and sends the cash to the state. And if that happens on a Monday morning payroll run, employees don't get paid, checks bounce, hotels can't operate. You don't need to bulldoze a company to kill it. You just stop the money. That's how you end a business in 24 hours. And now we enter the part of the movie where the music changes and everyone starts sweating. Because Trump Tower is not just a building. It is the private residence of the President of the United States. The Secret Service controls it. The elevators, the perimeter, the airspace. Meanwhile, the New York City Sheriff is a law enforcement officer with a court order to seize assets. So what happens when the sheriff walks up to those revolving doors on Fifth Avenue? Picture it. The sheriff says, "I have a court order." The Secret Service says, "This is a secure zone." Guns are present. Egos are massive. Lawyers are screaming into phones. This is a standoff nobody planned for, but everyone secretly wants to watch. Now, the Attorney General is smart enough to know you don't need to storm the penthouse to seize the LLCs that own the building. They'll start with the commercial stuff. But imagine the optics. State officials slapping seizure notices on luxury storefronts inside the president's home. That's not just enforcement. That's humiliation. And humiliation is Trump's kryptonite. If Trump orders the Secret Service to physically block the execution of a lawful civil order, he's flirting with obstruction of justice. But Trump will argue this is an attack on the presidency, a coup by foreclosure. The mood inside the White House, according to sources, is nuclear. And that's not surprising. Trump doesn't see his net worth as money. He sees it as his soul. These buildings are his children, and someone is trying to take them away. So he's reportedly on the phone with the Justice Department, demanding intervention. He wants an emergency injunction. The argument? A sitting president should be immune from civil asset seizure. It's a brand new legal theory that can be summarized as, "Your Honor, I'm very busy. Yes, presidents can be sued. The Supreme Court said that. But can they be liquidated? Can their businesses be dismantled while they're in office?" Trump's argument is basically that his attention is a national asset. That if he's worried about his furniture being auctioned off, he can't govern. This is the unitary executive theory, but applied to his wallet. And here's the problem with that argument. The country is watching their 401ks tank. Inflation is biting. The global economy is wobbling. If Trump uses presidential power to save his buildings while everyone else suffers, the optics are catastrophic. That populist image, gone. You can't scream about the elites while begging the courts to protect your penthouse. Normally, a billionaire in trouble makes a call. Saudi prince, hedge fund buddy. Someone wires the money. But this is January 24th, 2026. The markets are frozen. Banks are terrified. Oil prices are volatile. And Trump is radioactive collateral. Who wants to lend $500 million to a president whose assets are being seized and who might be politically finished in 2 years? Nobody. And that's why this order is so deadly. The judge knows Trump is illiquid. The judge knows the market is locked up. They struck at maximum vulnerability. This is a financial decapitation strike. How does this play with Trump's base? They see theft. They see communism. They see the system coming for their guy. Expect rallies. Expect outrage. Expect donations to spike. Though raising $464 million in $25 increments is a tall order. But independence? That's the danger zone. Americans like winners. Trump's whole brand is competence through wealth. If his buildings are seized, if he looks like a deadbeat who couldn't post a bond, that image collapses. If he can't manage his own money, how can he manage the country? The donors see it too. The big money backs winners. And right now, Trump looks like a man being repoed on live television. The invisible primary for 2028 starts now. Everyone watching is thinking the same thing. He's done. So where does this end? It ends at the Supreme Court. Trump will beg for an emergency stay. The justices will have to decide whether they're going to invent presidential asset immunity out of thin air. If they do, they look like they're protecting their patron. If they don't, they let him get humiliated. Either way, the damage is done. Because even if Trump saves the buildings, the spell is broken. The billionaire has been treated like a foreclosure victim. The aura of invincibility is gone. The sheriff is at the door. The bond market is on fire. And the president is cornered. History tells us cornered leaders are dangerous. They rush, they lash out, they make bad decisions. So watch closely. Watch the court filings. Watch the markets. Watch Trump's feed light up at 3 in the morning. Because this isn't just celebrity gossip. This is a stress test of the American system. Can the law touch the highest office? Can the system survive when it does? And what happens when a man who defines himself by ownership starts losing everything he ever put his name on? If you want to keep following this, if you want clear breakdowns without the spin, hit subscribe, hit like, and stay with us. Because history is being written right now, and this time, it comes with a receipt.